We're here today and we're going to take a few moments to talk about some of the options that we have when it comes to fencing at your home or business. Here at Property Revolution, we do a lot of different kinds of fencing, and part of the process of deciding what to go with is just kind of knowing what's available and what's out there. So the first type of fencing that most people are familiar with, that we install a lot of, is called chain link. And every type of fence, there's type, color, style, and height. So one of the conversations that we're going to have is what your goals are with your fence project, so that we can help decide how tall it should be. So like I said, the first one that we see a lot of is called chain link. Looks like this. It comes in several different heights. Most commonly it's either 4 or 6 foot tall. But sometimes it's 5 foot tall as well. And it comes in a couple of different colors. The most common is galvanized, which is what I'm holding a chain link gate here. This is just regular residential grade galvanized chain link. Or this can come in the color black, which is vinyl coated. So those are the two most common colors. On occasion we get asked about green and brown. We can usually track them down, but they're fairly expensive because they're not manufactured in very large quantities. But with the heights of your fence, one of the things you want to think about is what's your goal. If you're just trying to keep your kids contained in the backyard, a lot of times 4 foot is plenty and sufficient for that, unless you got a real climber out there. Some people, if they have pets or dogs specifically that they're trying to keep in the backyard, some dogs can be real jumpers, and 4 foot's not really quite enough to keep them in the backyard. So then some folks like to look at something a little bit taller. The next type of fencing we're going to talk about is called, we call it decorative aluminum. And here's a section here. This is also a gate from an aluminum fence. A lot of people will refer to this as wrought iron. It looks like wrought iron fence, but it's actually made of aluminum. Again, this can come in many styles and a few different heights. Most common ones would be 48 inches tall and like 55 inches tall. And we see this a lot around pools. It works really well as a pool fence. You can see through it, you can see what's going on, like if you've got kids playing in the backyard. Couple things to think about though, or to make sure that you're checking into if you're going to put an aluminum fence around your pool enclosure. Certain heights can only have certain combinations of support bars. So this one is from a 55-inch tall pool fence. So this is pool compliant or pool code compliant. But if we had a 48-inch version and it had 3 bars, that would not be compliant, because someone could put their foot in there, use the supports on the shorter fence as a boost and hop over the fence. And pool code is trying to avoid kids coming from the neighbor's house, jumping the fence and getting into your pool and drowning or having some sort of accident. So you definitely want to make sure that you're installing a pool code compliant fence if you're closing in a pool enclosure. But these fences look great. We install them in a lot of neighborhoods, and especially if you don't mind spending a little bit extra beyond what like chain link or wood might cost. It really does look sharp. There's very minimal maintenance, very easy to trim underneath. So if you mow the grass up to the fence, you can trim along the bottom very easily, and they hold up for a long time. So talked about chain link, aluminum. The next one is wood. And so we've got a sample here of what a standard wood privacy fence would look like. This is 6 foot tall. You can kind of get a gauge for my height. I'm a little bit taller than that. This is a 6 foot tall privacy fence with a standard, what we call a dog ear picket. This is what we install probably 60% of the time that we're installing fencing. We buy all the materials for this in super large quantities. We assemble it on site, makes it fairly economical. It's also great for privacy. The saying is fences make great neighbors. It's really nice. You can't really see through it. Fairly simple to maintain. There is maintenance that's required with a wood fence, so you definitely want to keep that in mind. The wood is more economical than some of the other options up front, but like I said, does involve a little bit of maintenance. You're going to want to stain it or paint it every several years. And we also have another video on YouTube. If you want to know if it's time to stain your fence, check out that video. That'll help you get a good gauge if it's due to stain your fence. With wood, there's a few other options that are available as far as materials. This is just basic treated wood. We can get cedar pickets. They look a little bit nicer. It's a little bit nicer material. But then there's different patterns that we could install the pickets in. There's an alternating style called dog ear. We've installed one where the boards overlap each other, so there's absolutely no room to be peeking through the fence. We call that board on board. That's another option. We've added lattice to the top. Like I said, there's quite a few different variations of the same basic fence. So if you're driving around and you see something unique that you like, and you're gonna sit down with someone to plan out a project, I recommend just taking pictures of those things that you see, or if you're on Pinterest and you think that's what you want your fence to look like, take some pictures so you can share those with whoever's working with you. And then the other style of fence is called just vinyl fencing. I don't have a sample with me here, but white vinyl fencing is another really common selection. But vinyl fencing comes in many styles. There's a style that has vertical balusters along the top, or lattice. It comes in 3, 4, 5, and 6 foot heights, and sometimes we use tan or beige. That's all up to the client and what they select. But the most commonly manufactured items are going to be the most cost effective. So white vinyl is going to be more cost effective than beige, for example, because the beige isn't manufactured in as large of batches. So those are your options for the most part with fencing. There are some other unique fences out there as far as designs and styles, but for the most part, this is what we're installing probably 95% of the time. And so if you have any questions on these styles or what your options might be for fencing in your yard, feel free to reach out and we'd be happy to help.